tongues of men and angels. Quite frankly, I don't really fully understand the concept, but it just sounds very eloquent to me. Here in the 13th chapter of 1 Corinthians, as we continue our series of studies on the fundamentals of spiritual life and talking about love, and just exactly what love is. And the Apostle Paul gives us a wonderful description of the manifestations of love, but I'm not sure that he completely tells us what love is. But here he says, the tongues of men and angels. He says, even though I had the ability to speak with the tongues of men and angels, whether it be to glorify God, or whether it be to do whatever it is that one would do with the tongue. I mean, we have the recordings of in the book of Acts from Luke that tells us about what happened on the day of Pentecost when they began to speak in unknown tongues. He says, all of those things and all of those giftings, but yet, he says, without love or charity, he says it's nothing more than a tinkling cymbal and a sounding brass, saying that it loses its savor if it has not love. Love that I believe can only truly come from the heart of God, because God is love. And we talked about this earlier in our studies. He said, who is it that sets the standard for everything? Then that would be God. That's why when I began to teach the series on love, I said, first of all, we have to understand the righteousness of God. Because to be able to apprehend in our own mind the concept of the righteousness of God, then we begin to realize that God is the center of all things. He sets the standard, he sets the tone, and it's only through God that we can fully comprehend what true love is, because God's love is unselfish, as he speaks of here in this 13th chapter of 1 Corinthians. He talks about having a love that has no condition to it. That's God. God has certainly demonstrated that by the giving of his own precious Son on the cross of Calvary. So all of these things, we see these things, and we begin to understand that love truly is a gift from God. To be able to love from the heart and to have the type of love that has no boundaries. In other words, if a person that I would say that I'm in love with should do something that would offend me, then I wouldn't stop loving them. Just like God, who is offended every day, every moment of the day, every second of the day, there's somebody that's disappointing God. But he never stops loving. Even people who say, I have no need for God. I don't believe in God. God still loves them. So, tongues of men and angels. Even though I have the ability to speak eloquently, it has no purpose. It has no real rhyme to it, because it's meaningless unless a person truly has found the gracious love of God and has allowed it to be applied to their own heart and spirit. And as they speak, even with eloquent tongues, it comes from the true understanding of the precious love of God. This is Pastor Jack King with the gospel on the radio broadcast.